Okay, Lamar's going to throw the ball in over to Devin Williams. Devin Williams over to Michael Manette. Michael looks over to Devin. Devin fakes a little bit, shake and bake. Here we go. Oh! Devin Williams! Oh my goodness!
Welcome back, everybody, to New Mexico is a Basketball State podcast, hosted by me, Russell Lee Gurule. It is great to be back. It's great to see you guys again. A lot has happened since the last podcast. We're now at the 16th episode and things have just been rolling right along. A lot of news to cover, a lot of things to talk about, and I'm pretty excited about what's going on this summer. First of all, let's get into some news. There's some coaching news. Adrian Ortega, also at APS, has been coming up with some great ideas. So some exciting things are going to happen here pretty soon for APS athletics. Also, William Deuce Benjamin of Las Cruces has signed with New Mexico State. Amazing. Totally amazing. Amazing. GH, head coach GH down there, Gary, down there in Las Cruces, is really building a class over there, and they're doing some exciting things. So that's great over there. But first of all, I want to go over each episode and tell you what's going to happen here in these takes here. I want to talk a little bit about the news in this first take. Then we'll talk about how some players are doing in the second take. But you're going to want to stick around for the third take. I went out around Albuquerque and got some footage and things like that to take a look at and kind of show you what's going on in the city. You know, it's titled, What's Wrong with Albuquerque? And, you know, there's a lot to question there, and there's a lot of things to ponder. So I want you to stay tuned for that and, you know, hold your attention span all the way through because we got plenty to talk about. You know, first of all, let's talk about the new head coaches now that have just signed on for next season. First off, Mayfield has just recently announced Keith Roberts, who is a former graduate assistant at New Mexico State. He's been with New Mexico State in their basketball program for about 7 years, and now he's taken over the Mayfield program. So this is really exciting for them, and let's see how he does. Let's see how he brings that experience at New Mexico State to Mayfield and how it translates, and let's see if it turns into some winning over there, and let's see how they do as a program, because Las Cruces basketball is already pretty tough with William Benjamin, excuse me. Well, William Deuce might end up coaching there someday too, who knows, but head coach William Benjamin, you know, is the king down there right now, and you got to say he's the king. 3 state finals in a row, for sure. Big time record down there. So it's going to get a little bit more interesting now that Keith Roberts is signed on at Mayfield. Another hire that I think is interesting, exciting actually, is Cibola. Now, Ray Rodriguez has retired and he became athletic director, and I think he made a very good hire in Gabe Martinez. Gabe Martinez is the former head coach at Espanola Valley, where he had a 20-win season last year. He's been coaching for about 3 years. I believe he's from Rio Grande High School, and he's gone through the ranks, and now he's taken over the Cibola Cougar program. So we'll have to see how he does in Unser Road and how he's going to deal with you know, the Atriscos, the Volcano Vistas, and Cleveland and Rio Rancho every year, because that's going to be tough. He's got a tougher road to hoe there. And so we'll see how his players respond, how he coaches, and how he gets that program going. Another, I guess you can't really say this is a coaching hire because he's already started last season in the middle of the year, which was at Atrisco, and that's Steve Heredia, who was also an assistant coach at one time in Las Cruces. He took over the Atrisco program, and he's done some exciting changes there as far as social media wise, and they had a very nice run in the state tournament. They were a completely different team, Atrisco was, compared to the regular season. They went through quite a bit last season. And at the state tournament, they were able to go to the semifinal, and they were going to give Las Cruces all they could handle. So they did a very nice job, and they beat a very strong Hobbs team at Hobbs at Ralph Tasker. So that was really impressive of them. Really impressive of them. And so we'll have to see how this momentum continues, because they got some nice players who I'm going to talk about in the second take. And also, for our third one, we got Albuquerque High. Now, Greg Brown stepped down after about just a year. Just a year. He was only there a year. He had led the Bulldogs to the 16th seed in the state tournament. Now, it's unclear why he had to step down. He was relieved of duties. No official word or anything came out as to what happened there and why that is. But it became a vacancy. And it's a program, Albuquerque High, that is been aching for some winning, to carry on some traditions. This is a program that's had Jim Holzman as its head coach. And so that's some tough shoes to fill for anybody who takes over that program because of all that tradition there. You should walk through the hallway. There's plenty of blue trophies everywhere in those glass cases. So they went ahead and hired former El Dorado girls coach Leroy Barella. So we're going to find out how he does and how he builds the excitement, because they need some excitement over there at Bulldog City. So he's going to take over the reins there. And each year he has to take on people like Santa Fe and Capital and those folks. And so we're going to see how he messes his group and how what his coaching style is. Is he going to be run and gun? Is it going to be fast paced? We're going to find out what he does here as the new Bulldogs head coach. And we're going to see if they can turn that thing around over there at Bulldog City. So with that, we got pretty much all the coaching hires except one that hasn't happened yet and still waiting for word. It may happen by the time this podcast is posted, and that's Bernalillo. Terry Darnell stepped down as head coach, who finished with 400 plus wins, and he became head athletic director. So he's in charge of the hiring process. And so we're going to see if who he hires to take over the Spartan program there in Bernalillo in 4A. So that we're just waiting on word on that. It's probably going to happen fairly soon, I suspect, because they're going to have their period here in the summer where the teams can get together in June. And that leads me to Section 7. Which is going to happen in June here in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's a big high school tournament. So with this high school tournament, you're going to have about 300 plus teams out there playing at State Farm Stadium under the big lights in a big 65,000 seat stadium on 12 courts for 4 days. And there's going to be over what they say 500 college coaches. Last year I went, I saw everybody from Mick Cronin of UCLA, Richard Pitino was there for UNM, and Chris Jans was there also last year, former Aggie head coach who's now at Mississippi State. He was there also. So there's a lot of top head coaches from college basketball who are going to be there at Section 7. This is a tournament that's hosted by the Arizona Basketball Coaches Association, and they do a wonderful job over there. And I'm planning on attending. We'll see how everything works out. I'm working out the schedule right now to see if I can make it there to, the big Section 7. So I'm just waiting on word on some stuff and then go from there. And we're gonna have 5 teams this year compared to 4 last year. So it's exciting. We're going to have Cleveland, Sandia, La Cueva. We're also going to have Highland and Volcano Vista. So Sandia and Volcano Vista were there last year along with Santa Fe, Las Cruces. These two are going to make a second turn at Section 7. So that's going to be exciting to see how they perform against California and Arizona teams. Excuse me. So with that, we're going to find out how they do. And fun fact here, Las Cruces and Volcano Vista went undefeated until the state final, and they were both in Section 7 last year. So that's a fun fact. But the main thing is we're going to find out how they do and how they look, and that'll give me a better idea of who's going to be, starting out the gates next season and who's going to be a good team next season. So that's an exciting thing there. So let's go through some more stuff after Section 7 here. I'm going to check my cheat sheet here. Let's get to APS and Adrian Ortega, who left Atrisco and he became the athletic director at APS. He's come up with a lot of ideals. First off, he's going to allow 8th graders to play high school basketball, varsity. I believe that's across all sports. 8th graders who can compete in high school are going to be able to do that now. He's also going to try to upgrade middle school sports. They presently only offer basketball, volleyball, track and field, but he's going to try to get more sports in there. He's definitely working on that aspect right there. So that's kudos. Start him early, right? So if you can get baseball, football, and any other sport in these middle schools, that'll be amazing. That'll be truly amazing to see what happens there as far as those things are concerned, because a lot of that's done by clubs, especially basketball. Now, if that happens, we're going to see more players coming more prepared to high school. And so that's kind of his rationale right there. And it also gives extracurricular activities for the much younger student athlete out there. He's also going to start allowing travel for APS schools. Before, they didn't really travel outside the state, but now they can do that. They have the option to go to Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, anywhere, I would imagine, if they can afford the travel and they can afford to transport their team and all that. So that in itself is a big step forward. They were the only school district that didn't allow that before. Rio Rancho had been doing it. In fact, Rio Rancho played several Amarillo teams, Amarillo, Texas, last season in basketball, and Las Cruces does it. They play El Paso teams, and that's another positive thing that's happening out of APS. But one of the most interesting things that I think is going to really bring up a lot of questions, because it's going to be challenging. I already know it's going to be challenging, is APS is going to try to broadcast its games and set up a subscription type of service where you can subscribe to APS and then you can see all the sports that they offer. See, they plan to get camera equipment like the stuff I have, and they plan to put it in all their gymnasiums. I suspect they're going to do it in their football stadiums too, and maybe baseball and things like that. And they plan to broadcast all of their sporting events. You can subscribe, and they're going to sell these subscriptions. So we'll see what kind of plan they have. If you just want to watch basketball and you only want to pay this much or that much or this and that. Those are things they haven't talked about yet, and I'll just wait for that to happen. And they're going to also try to gather that money and keep it within the sports programs. So when you subscribe, that money, I'm going to assume, is going to go to sports instead of these national networks that have been doing it before, like ProView and things like that. I imagine ProView and Sports Primo are still going to broadcast games. I don't think that's going away by any means, but I imagine it's a whole new world now that APS is getting involved in the streaming game. And we're going to see what happens. I think it's fun and exciting where you can see all different types of games. They're going to try to showcase all the kids in APS athletics. And one of the rationales is that Adrian Ortega stated, well, a lot of the money goes out of state and it doesn't stay here. And so these businesses or companies outside the state get this money for broadcasting games of our kids. He said, basically, I want to keep the money here in our state. So that's what he's planning to do. So it's going to require a lot of equipment, for sure. No doubt, for sure. A lot of technical stuff. So it's going to be very interesting. They may find out how hard this stuff really is, to put a camera up and do all these things and set up all these things and try to broadcast, because it's not easy by any means, because you run into things and you run into problems and you have to learn things out of necessity. I believe me, I know. I've done that myself. I've done that for a couple years now. I've dealt with all kinds of different stuff. So it's interesting to see. And it sounds like they're basically making another department there, but it's one that will actually hopefully generate money. Now, it depends on the equipment cost for all those cameras and what kind of cameras and things like that, and if they get the right stuff and if they even know what they're doing. I'm just asking a question. That's it. And so that stuff's going to all come into play there. And so I imagine they're going to need a lot of help getting that off the ground. So we'll see how that happens and see what they do and see how they pull that off. But that is exciting. That is truly exciting. So I'm going to sit back, relax, and I'll buy a subscription. I will. I'll be one of the first. As soon as it comes out, I'll be one of the first to buy one. You can put me down for a subscription, Adrian. I'm right here. So let's go on. Let's move on here. And I want to talk about TBT. This kind of bugs me a little bit because there's a little bit of history here. The basketball tournament, okay? You might have heard of the basketball tournament. It's where 64 teams get together, and at the end they play for, a cash prize. It's up there in the millions now, I imagine. I haven't really looked at what that prize is this year. But we have the Enchantment. It's a UNM alumni and now the Mexico State alumni. And what's kind of funny to me is that they're not the first to ever do this TBT thing. Okay, new story. Real Hoops Albuquerque was the first to do the TBT here out in New Mexico. And in fact, they made it to the TBT, and they were actually on TV, and they actually got on ESPN, I believe. They were the first to do it. The New Mexico Bull Snakes and myself were the second ones to do TBT before UNM alumni and before New Mexico State. Unfortunately, the thing hit us. The thing hit us in the middle of it. They had to cut the roster from 64 to 20, so we didn't make the 20-team roster, the 20-team tournament that they ended up having to do. We had to work our tails off to try to get votes. We didn't get, the kind of attention in media that UNM alumni and New Mexico State alumni are getting. We didn't get any of that at all. In fact, we only got like one interview. The rest of it I had to do off of social media. We made it into the 64 team, and unfortunately the thing happened and it wiped us out. But we made it, and we had some overseas players on our roster, plus the Bull Snakes, and we had Devin Williams. In fact, Devin Williams was the only one interviewed because he was a former Lobo. I mean, if you want to do anything in this town, if you want to do any kind of sports or anything like that, and if you want to get any attention, all you got to do is get a former Lobo basketball player, and the media will be on you like flies on cow dung. It's the honest to God truth. It's crazy. Or pay $500 to the radio station a month in ads and they'll interview you. Now, if you don't pay them $500 a month in ads, forget about an interview. I mean, you literally have to do it on social media. I mean, I got 700 new followers without the Bull Snakes ever touching a ball for 8 months straight. Just hammering away. And it's very difficult if you want to start something in this town without a former Lobo basketball player on there, because the media all but ignores you because, well, I don't know, maybe they're lazy. I'm just saying, maybe they're just lazy. That's kind of how I feel about it. But, kudos to, I think it's the Enchantments, or I'm not sure. Okay, I haven't really been paying attention, but I'm amused at how everybody's getting excited over the TBT now and things like that. It's like they all support now all of a sudden, and it's kind of annoying because they're not the first ones to try it. We were the first to try it along with Real Hoops. We were the first to do it. They probably got the idea from us, to be honest with you. They probably never even thought about it before then. I'm just saying. I'm just asking for, a little recognition that, hey, some New Mexicans went out there and tried to do something. And, media all but ignored us, and we didn't get the recognition that, we deserve. Oh, well, no big deal. I don't care. I'm moving on, but I'm just pointing that out as a fact of history. I'm pointing that out just for, my Bull Snakes players and the guys that worked hard to try to get that support from all of you. Okay? That's all I'm doing. So with that, I'm going to move on to something else here. I'm looking at my cheat sheet because there's so much to talk about. I mean, with the shot clock, the shot clock. Okay. Let's talk about the shot clock. I'm just waiting for it to happen because I think it's eventually going to happen. I understand Los Lunas has already put up a shot clocks in their gyms. And kind of the word is that it's about money or something like that, or they're talking about how it's going to cost $10,000 to put shot clocks up and things like that for something brand new. Well, I mean, there's always eBay. You can always, as a school district, go to the people, Datatronics, I believe, who makes the shot clocks, who makes all that type of equipment. You could always go to them and you can always buy in a wholesale. You can buy in volume. You can say, hey, like APS can say, hey, we're going to have 14, 15 schools here. We're going to need about 40 shot clocks. We're going to need this equipment. We'll buy this all in bulk from you. Give us a deal. I mean, honestly, we can work these things out. There's solutions to that. There's solutions to getting the shot clocks as far as money is concerned. And I think that's the only thing that's really holding it back. You can basically have it in 4A and 5A. Those seem like the schools that can reasonably afford it, reasonably be able to do it. And I think you can train the officials anyways. I think that's not hard at all. You just have to be willing to do it. You just have to have a will and a way and not rationalize why you shouldn't do it. There's a lot of ways to do this, and I think it improves. Why not be the first in something instead of just going along with everybody else? I believe there's only 5 other states that have it. California has it. I think North Carolina also has it. Why not? Why not? The kids are going to play in college with shot clocks. Why not have them here in New Mexico? Why not add it to the game? Why not see what happens? Now, why not? Somebody said today on Twitter, 30 seconds should probably be it. 35 is too long. Okay. Yeah, I'm down with 35. Why not? Why not? The game is played fast today, and I think it'll add more strategy. I do personally. Is when it's there, it'll bring up some new scenarios. It will make things interesting. That's the way I look at it. I know most people don't hold the ball anymore, but they can do it. And that's a strategy in itself. And that can also give somebody who's less talented, who doesn't have the ability, like Hickory going up against somebody, and they have to play a different way or this and that gives them a chance. Yeah, I get that. Shot clock, though, in a way, it kind of brings in that kind of mentality that, okay, I'm going to have to get better. I'm going to have to improve my skills. Me as a coach, I'm going to have to get better. That's kind of how I see it as far as the shot clock is concerned. So with that, I'm saying go with the shot clock. Los Lunas has already put them up. Hobbs can do it. They did it for the Lobos during the thing. And we're going to see what happens. I think it's going to take maybe another year before it really gets going, before the ball starts really rolling, until they get more data. I think there needs to be a little bit more data, but I don't see the smaller schools, as some coaches have said, being able to do it. I think the bigger schools, 4A and 5A, have the skill level to do it, and I think it'll benefit them because a lot of them are going to go to college. That's where I'm seeing it go, and I think it's one way to help us because, in truth, the odds are stacked against New Mexico. Okay, I'm going to go on this sidebar here. The odds are really stacked against New Mexico when you really think about it. You sit down and ponder this. Texas has got 30 million people. They've got 5A and 6A. Their 5A has 300 plus schools, which I've talked about before. That's 300 schools that are size of La Cueva, for crying out loud. They're huge. 2,000 students all together across the board there. 6A is even bigger. And you look at Arizona, just from 4A, 5A, and 6A. They have a 6A also in basketball. There's 120 schools all together there. That's more than what we have. In 4A and 5A here in New Mexico, we have a little under 50 schools compared to Arizona. So you have all these college coaches. They're going to be able to look over there and find plenty of schools to look at. It's a numbers game, really. And they're going to be able to see all those kids play. They're going to be playing different schedules. Texas is the same way. Colorado is going to be the same way. Denver's much bigger than Albuquerque by about 400,000 or 500,000 in that metro. And you're looking at Arizona, which is much bigger, 6-7 million in that state, and New Mexico is barely over 2. And Texas, like I said, is 34, and Oklahoma's about 6 million, 5 million people. So you got all these numbers and you got all these schools, all these college coaches can easily go over there and find talent. So New Mexico's got to do everything it can to showcase its kids. From Adrian Ortega's ideal to putting up cameras in the gyms to putting up shot clocks and doing things like that. We finally, as a sidebar, we finally started doing our state championship football games at University Stadium. Now, if we can get UNM to fix the thing and get it up to modern standards, we're doing gangbusters. That's all I'm saying on that. I could go into a long speech about UNM and athletic facilities, okay? I could really do it. It's not going to be pretty, okay? Am I being negative? No, I'm just stating what I see, okay? And if you don't like it, well, I can't help you, all right? And I'm not going to help you. The point is that we got to do better. We got to do better as far as showcasing what we have, and we got to strive to be better. We got to raise the standard instead of being down here and saying same as it ever was. And so that's why I think shot clocks would be a good addition, because the odds truly are stacked against us. Got to stop fighting each other in a way. And that's one thing that's going to lead me to something else. I'm going to talk about Albuquerque prep for a minute and the high school coaches. Okay. This is going to be interesting. This might perk your ears a little bit, but I'm going to talk about this. I'm not against Albuquerque prep having a team alongside the high school season. I'm totally not against it. I'm hearing maybe they might have a second team. I'm not against it. I'm for parents being able to send their kids anywhere they can, where they feel that they can get the best education or the best opportunity. I've always been for that. I've been for school vouchers. I know they don't cover tuitions, but so what? They can help make the difference, okay? Educators would argue that it doesn't cover the difference, but that's their reasoning for trying to get more money. Okay, that's the way I see it. The truth is I would love to have school vouchers out there so that parents can have the freedom to send their kids wherever they want, because the state doesn't own them. They belong to the kids. They belong to the parents, excuse me. And that's how I feel. And that's why I don't mind Albuquerque prep. Now, what I don't like is having, a player leave in the middle of the season to go to Albuquerque prep. Okay? That to me screws up that high school teams right there, and it causes them problems. And it benefits Albuquerque prep, of course, or it could go vice versa, to be honest with you. But the way the rules are set up, I believe if you go to Albuquerque prep, you cannot go to high school. I'm not quite sure on that. But the way I see it is Albuquerque prep and the high school, the NMAA, and, Department of Education should get together and say, okay, you know what? No switching teams in the middle of the season. You do it before the season. Pick your squad before the season. Live in harmony. Pick your squad before the season. No poaching of players from the high schools to go to prep in the middle of the season, because it doesn't just affect that player, but it affects that team. It affects how they're playing. It affects people that have nothing to do with you. And that's where I don't like it. You see, that's where I'm calling it out. All I'm saying and proposing is saying you guys come to an agreement, ABC prep and the high schools, whoever you need to agree with, and agree that no transferring of players during the middle of the season, during the season period. Have your squads before the season. Pick your squad before the season. Live in harmony. That's how I see it, okay? That's where I'm at. That's where I think things will work more smoothly, because I don't have a problem with ABC Prep having 3 or 4 teams if parents choose to do that. I don't have a problem with it. I know some high school coaches might get upset and say, well, you're messing the high school parents. I get that too, okay? But it's the parents' kids, It should be their choice. It should be their choice if they feel that they can get something better with prep than they can with you. Or if somebody's at prep and they feel that they can get a better deal at high school. That's the way I see it. So Options. I like options right there. But do it before the season. Don't do it in the middle of the season. Don't do it during the season. Make an agreement. Make an agreement there, and then have something that holds each other accountable if there is any shenanigans or transferring of players outside of the high schools to prep or vice versa. Think these things through and then cover all bases. That's where I'm getting at with all of that. And with that, I think I might go ahead and start off with the second take here, and I'll finish it off. And we're going to talk about the players, what they're doing this summer and how they're doing in AAU ball and the local high school tournaments. And we'll go from there. So stay tuned for that second take. All right. Thank you. Now we're back. We're going to do the second take here. We're going to talk about the AAU season. So far, I've been to a couple of tournaments. I've gone to the Bash in the Desert in Phoenix, Arizona AAU tournament. I've also gone to the Salsa Slam and done a few other tournaments, and just to check out, see who's playing. And there's a few players that are standing out right now. For one, I gotta tell you about St. Pius's Brian Kalb. Kalb is 6'7". He is a nice player, inside-outside game. He's been really stepping up, and I think he's going to be somebody that could easily do a lot of great things in the Metro next season. And he could possibly lead, the St. Pius to a state tournament final or something like that. It's possible because he is definitely playing gangbusters this summer. He's showing an outside shot. He's showing some mid-range. He's showing all kinds of nifty moves. It definitely appears that he's working on his game. And Nick Sanchez of Artesia is another one that I want to talk about real quick. Nick is, he played in the state final his sophomore year during the Let Them Play season. And he's just grown and developed into a really, really solid player. I mean, he's just built. He's a beast. He's just built himself up, and he's shown an outside shot, athleticism in the paint, and he's a short guard around 6 foot. And he's also gone and added basketball IQ and a lot of things. He's really beginning to mature as a player. And he's one that I think we all should watch in 4A at Artesia. Now, one guy that for sure is turning a lot of heads now, and he might be the best player in the state. I'm going to say it. He might be the best player in the state. A couple eyes are turning, and I don't think you guys are going to argue with me too much with this one, but Los Lunas' Jalen Holland is really, really showing a nice game. This guy has already got an offer from GH at New Mexico State. GH is everywhere. I'm beginning to really like this guy and his momentum over there at New Mexico State. Well, guess what? He's already offered Jalen Holland a scholarship to play basketball at New Mexico State. And Jalen's only a sophomore. And I suspect by the senior year, GH is still going to be in there. That's how I feel about it. I don't know about Richard Patino. Patino is still maybe looking for New Mexico on the map. Sorry, but I mean, I got to pick on him, okay? He did the same thing in Minnesota, okay? They give him hell about it over there in Minnesota. He was there for 8 years, and they said he had a heck of a time recruiting Minnesota players for the University of Minnesota. And it appears he's repeating the same pattern here at New Mexico. It is what it is, okay? Maybe he changes, and I'll give him due praise for it for sure, okay? I'll pick on him, and I'll praise him all at the same time. Same with GH down at New Mexico State. But back to Jalen Holland. Jalen Holland is showing an outside shot. Now, the game I saw at the Salsa Slam, he hit 4 or 5 threes in a row. He has really, really worked on his outside shot. He is definitely improved his athleticism. And it's like I said in my last episode, episode 15, the top 10 episode, I said he's an athletic player that's on the verge of wowing us. And he's getting even closer now. We're going to see Jalen throwing dunks down like crazy this coming season. I already feel that. I already have this sense that he's just going to start wowing us now. I think that's what's going to start happening with Jalen Holland. I see it already. I just had that feeling. And I think more and more colleges are going to take notice of Jalen Holland, for sure. They're going to be down at Los Lunas watching him play, for sure. Now, moving on, there's another player that is, we all knew about him, last season, but he's getting better this season, and he's going to be tough in the paint, and that's Tause's Damon Eli. Damon Eli is really doing well at 6'7", 6'8". He has been strong in the paint from what I saw this summer against some tough competition, and he's been developing his outside shot a little bit, and we'll see how well he does with that. It still needs some work for sure, but he's one that is going to definitely improve Tause's chances of getting to the state tournament and doing some things. And they had a great season last year. So I think he's going to take more of the bulk of scoring this year, since Anthony Padilla's graduated, who's an all-star in the red and green all-star game. And now I think Damian Eli is going to take more of that responsibility, and we're going to see more of him play, and he's going to be more involved with their offense. So we're going to see how he plays out. I really think that he's going to be one that we're going to start talking about more and more, because I think there's still more in the tank, more improvement for sure on him. And as we go down the line, you start seeing, patterns develop. You start seeing who might get better and what kind of teams are going to be better. And Alamogordo, I got to talk about Alamogordo. I unfortunately don't have footage as of yet, but I'm sure I'm going to see you at the next tournament. Alamogordo, Kai Brickham, is a great outside shooter, and he's got a lot of spunk and a lot of spark from what I've noticed when I saw him at the AAU tournament in Phoenix. And Tristan Drake at 6'9" is showing that he can put the ball in the basket. He's showing some ability also, and from what I understand, he can shoot from outside. They have Deontay Bynum, excuse me. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's their point guard, and he's showing some outside shooting ability, and they seem like a team that is going to be very aggressive, up and coming this season. And then there's Sanders. Sanders is another player that has added a lot of aggression for them, and we'll see how he fits in. And we're going to see how they play, but they're going to be a team to reckon with down in southern New Mexico. But those players right there, they're a squad already. They played together on the varsity level last year, and they struggled, and that's to be expected of a sophomore-laden team. So we're going to see how they play now, this coming year, when they're all juniors. So that's exciting there. You've got another player, Lenny Washington of Oregon Mountain, and Brandon Keyrez. Brandon Keyrez is presently, I believe he's injured right now, but he's going to heal up, okay? He's going to heal up, and he's going to do some great things. And Oregon Mountain's going to be another tough team to deal with down there in Las Cruces. Also, speaking of Las Cruces, you have David Cruz and Caleb Carr coming back, brother of Isaiah Carr. Caleb Carr is about 6'9", 6'10", another big man on his way there at Cruces. You can't count them out. Who knows who else is coming up the pipeline there at Cruces, and it's going to be the same with Oregon Mountain. Who else is going to step in to help Lenny and Brandon out? But Southern New Mexico basketball is definitely moving on up. Definitely, especially with the hire of Keith Roberts of Mayfield. So we're going to see a lot of interesting things happen down south, and we're going to see how they play out and what they do. And Centennial will probably be there, and we'll see who they have in store for us. So I'm definitely going to go down there and check them out. And then you look at Hobbs, another team. They lost a lot, so we're going to see who steps up for them. It might be a rough year. It might be an amazing year. Who knows? I still got to find out more. It's way too early now for all those teams, really. But these are a couple players to identify. And, looking at La Cueva, we got to talk about La Cueva. La Cueva looks to be number one. Looks to be, okay? You got Exodus Ayers, who I think is going to have a big season. I think he's going to take off this year. And I think he's going to start showing some new moves. And I think he's going to be that leader that grabs the bull by the horns. Got to grab the bull by the horns if you want to have a state championship. You got to be like a William Deuce Benjamin or a Jaquan Hill. You got to be there to step in and take the big shots and do the big things in order to win. And I think that's what he's going to do. And you're going to have Cedarius Yates, who's probably one of the most explosive athletes in the state. He just gets to the rim so easy. He's just so fast and crafty with the ball. I mean, it's fun to watch him play. He looks like one of those New York City playground players. He just looks so crafty out there, and he just brings excitement. And so if he keeps on developing and keeps on growing and gets stronger, he's another talent for them. Plus, you have Daniel Jacobson at 6'10". Daniel, I think somebody alluded to the fact that you can't really say it's a fact, but they alluded to that the possibility that he might still be growing, and that might be. But Daniel, once he starts growing more as a player and starts anticipating the defense and what people are doing and things of that nature, and he develops his post moves and does those sorts of things, he's going to be a force. He's going to be very difficult to deal with for sure. He's already shown that he can shoot outside a little bit. It's just a matter of consistency with him. They also have some young players in Paul Lovato at 6'5", and then they have Cam Dyer, I believe, or Dreyer. He'll correct me, I'm sure. But these are some athletic players that are coming up the pipeline, and they're going to be sophomores. So they're still young. It's still their time. And then you have Josiah Gulliford, or JoJo. He's just another player that is a point guard. And if he can really assert himself, really make good decisions, this could be the team to beat. This could be the team to beat. La Cueva looks stacked, honestly. They looked stacked. It's just a matter, like I said last year in the podcast 15, or was it 14, before the state tournament, they got to mature. They got to get better at taking care of the ball game and managing the ball game and really going after it. And I think they will. They're getting closer. And then before I forget, Isaiah Deniclaw, and I hope I'm saying his name right. He's another one that's shining out there on the AAUC, and he's going to be another solid contributor for them at La Cueva. So, I mean, that just reiterates that they got more talent. That's what it comes down to. They just got a lot of talent. It's just about maturity for them. Now, another team that is going to try to go for the repeat, and they should. They should be able to do it, I think. I really think they should be able to do it because they are very talented at the post positions. And that's Volcano Vista. Sean Alter at 6'8", maybe he's 6'9". We'll call him 6'9" with shoes, right? Everybody's an inch taller with shoes. And Kenyon Agueno, who's now a sophomore, who hit big threes in the state final against Las Cruces last season, are back. And they're just lobbing to each other. They're just toying with people here in the summer. That's all they've been doing. But it's not just that. They're stronger. Kenyon Agueno's smoother with the basketball. He seems to be more fluid. He seems to be getting more and more comfortable with his body as far as playing on the court. And Sean Alter is getting a lot tougher at finishing at the rim. And I think last year's state final really helped him become that kind of player. And if he can keep working on his moves and if he can keep getting stronger, he's going to be another kind of guy that gets close to Jose Murillo. Jose Murillo was a beast at Highland. Sean Alter is that type of player who I think can get there. It's just a matter of time, though. It's just a matter of time. But it's not just that. They move the ball so well. They just pass so well, and they get such easy shots, outside shots, and they hit them. They're consistent. At least that's what I saw with them. Excuse me. So, with that, they also add in the defense. They are still playing defense at a high level, even in the summer. They're definitely showing that they can play defense. They are very tough defensively, And that's going to get them through a lot of games while they develop their offense. Now that Jaquan Hill, Jaden Malone and Caden Valdez have all graduated, and Oscar McCoy. So they're going to have some new guards coming up. And they're all going to have to get acclimated, and they're going to have to figure that thing out on the offensive side. But I think they will, because they're already pretty smooth, and they've already got two legitimate scorers in Sean Alter and Kenyon Agueno. And you might realistically say that they might be the top team to repeat, along with La Cueva, and everybody else is still, guessing game right now. I got to see more. I just got to see more from all the other teams out there and from the players, and I'm going to find that out at Section 7. Because there's going to be some teams there. Sandia, Cleveland, La Cueva is going to be there. Volcano Vista is going to be there. And speaking of Cleveland, we're going to move on from Volcano now to Cleveland. Speaking of Cleveland, we got to talk about Daniel Steverson. He's another top player that could potentially have a very, very big year. And it could be him and Jalen Holland for all we know. It could be. Caleb, I'm going to talk about Caleb here in a minute. I'll tell you who he is. But Daniel Steverson shoots the ball very well from outside from what I can see. He can get it off pretty quick. He's making good, intelligent decisions in the paint. He's dropping the ball off. He's becoming a playmaker more and more. But I think he's going to be more and more of a scorer for Cleveland. I think he's going to have to be, given, because I don't know who's coming out, who else is coming. And it appears that they may be losing Elijah Brody to West Mesa. So that's another thing. We can get to West Mesa here pretty soon. West Mesa is another up-and-coming team like Alamogordo. But with Daniel Steverson, I think that's definitely one player that we've got to definitely watch for. And I think he could easily be he's top 10 more than likely this year. Don't at me. Don't freak out. I'm just speculating here, okay? Just speculating. Don't get emotional. But he's definitely showing that he has the ability to do that, okay? So let's go on to West Mesa. Brandon Lagunas. You have Elijah Brody. You have that team. You have Sonny Ortiz, who's a really nice player at 6'4". These guys are up and coming. Let's see how they play out, and let's see what they do. I think they could be a force there here in the Metro. And speaking of the Metro, and I forgot to mention this in the first take, and so I'm going to mention this now, but let me finish with West Mesa real quick. West Mesa was strong last year and got a few upsets against La Cueva, and they're bringing back basically the same group, but now they're a year older. This team could be a force and get a few more upsets and get to a point where we can say, yeah, this is definitely going to be a tough team come state tournament time. Definitely a team to watch for. Now, let's talk about Metro, which I forgot in the first take, okay? I'm glad I mentioned it now. Now I remember. Adrian Ortega has changed the Metro Championships to allow teams from outside the Metro to compete. Hobbs is going to do it. Santa Fe is going to be there. He wants it to be a format. He wants it to be like a test run of the state tournament, so to speak, here in Albuquerque. So I think that's a great idea. I think it's exciting. It gives more exposure to these teams from outside the Metro, such as Hobbs, Carlsbad, Farmington, teams like that don't normally get that exposure, especially because the Albuquerque media doesn't travel anywhere past Tramway Boulevard. Let's be honest, they don't. They don't really get that far out. They pretty much stay in the Metro and that's it. That's all they do. You know, gas and with gas prices going up through the roof, I don't think they're going to get even close to Tramway Boulevard. I'm just being smart, okay? But you know, from observation, it looks pretty true to me. That's how I see it. So, I think it's a great idea. Hobbs will be there. Santa Fe will be there. And we're going to see a few more teams from outside the Metro. Los Lunas, I might imagine, might be there. And so I think this is another great idea. And that was part of my first take as far as Adrian Ortega and APS Athletics and what they're doing. So let's keep on moving on to these other teams. Now I want to talk about Caleb, who I slipped in there for a minute earlier. Caleb Parham of El Dorado is one that we got to put our glasses on and we got to keep an eye on. Caleb is a very athletic 6'1", 6'2" guard at El Dorado who can get in the lane and throw it down. Shoots from outside, pull-up jumper, athletic. He's exciting. He's exciting to watch, and he's somebody that you're going to have to go take a look at. Anytime you see El Dorado on the schedule, go take a look and see Caleb Parham, because he's another guy that I think could probably be in the top 10. For sure. For sure. Now moving on to Carlsbad's Damian Perez, who I ranked number 10 in my top 10. Damian Perez is only going to get bigger, stronger, and better. And I haven't found out too much about what he's doing in the summer. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the summer now, get a little closer look. But he's another one that we got to keep an eye on and take a look at for sure, because he's exciting with the ball. He's got the Pistol Pete handles. He's doing this at 6'5". Step back three. He's doing it from 30 feet out. Definitely another player to watch. Him and McWright over at Carlsbad are going to be tough this year to go along with that southern New Mexico scene down there. They're all going to be tough, and I still got to find out about Roswell, and I got to find out about Clovis, and I haven't found out too much yet, and it's just going to be a matter of digging as far as they're concerned. But I know that they're going to be good too, and they're going to be competitive. They always are. And then there's Lovington too. Julian Arroyo is one that appears to be stepping up and getting better and better, and he might be a leader over there at Lovington. He's going to be a junior. Then you have Andrew Flores over at Bloomfield, who's a very nice outside shooter, and he's going to be another one to take a look at, and he's going to be exciting. Then you have Cody Wasserstein over at Farmington, and I want to talk about Farmington real quick here. Farmington is building a basketball culture with For Real Training Basketball. They're going to have a tournament this June, team tournament. I believe it's going to be the 10th through the 11th on that weekend. They are building something up there in Farmington. It's exciting. It's fun to see. It's fun to see all areas of the state start to build up a basketball culture. And that's what they're doing over there in Farmington. So I'm excited about that. Farmington's a team and a program that's getting better and better, and they were pretty good last year. So let's keep an eye out on Farmington. They're still developing up there, but they've got training now, and they're doing some tournaments, and they're in the West Coast Elite circuit right now. And so they're out on the road playing ball, and that's all you can hope for. And it's great, and it's awesome. So going with that, and like I said before, I go off the top of my head with a lot of this, and I don't really write a lot of names down. I just go. That's how I do it. That's how I've always done it. Maybe I'll do a different script sometime, but that's just how I go. We've got a lot of talent developing, a lot of athletic guards this year around the 6 foot range or so. We've got a few tall ones. Tristan Drake, Alamogordo at 6'9". You got Caleb Card around 6'9", 6'10". Sean Alter at 6'8". And you can put Kenyon Agueno there at 6'6". You got Brian Kolb at 6'7", Damien Eli at around 6'7", 6'8". So we've got a few tall kids this year. And so we're going to have a few big men this year. And Daniel Jacobson, I forgot, 6'10". So there's definitely some big men going on this year. And so I'm excited about that. So far, I think I've covered just about everybody I have seen, okay? I haven't seen everybody as of yet. And we're going to see who else comes up on the scene and see how they're doing. And I'm going to touch on that in the next podcast as far as how players are doing. We've got plenty of basketball to be played. There's a lot of local tournaments going on and a few people developing for sure. And so I try to get out to these tournaments when I have the time. And that's not always the case every weekend, but I definitely try my best, okay? So bear with me. That's all I can say. You know, if I don't get your team, I apologize. I miss a lot of teams. That's how it goes sometimes. That's just how it goes. And you know, I'm going to address something here because frankly, it ticked me off a little bit. I got a little ticked off because, you know, when I post a highlight video on Twitter, okay, and then somebody, you know, makes a snide remark that, oh, well, my team played in this school, my team played in this highlight, I don't see them there, nah, 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 nah. You know, I'm sorry. I didn't have the time. You didn't play at the time I had. That's just how it worked out. I mean, if you had won and if you had made it to the next game, I would have had the time to do that. But then to come back at me and then demand that I make time for your team, you must have fallen and hit your head. You must have really fallen and hit your head to think you can demand services of somebody and think that they'll just go along with it after you publicly made snide comments and called them out on it. Give me a break, grow up. Seriously, grow up, If you don't like my schedule, I make my own schedule. I dictate my own schedule. Nobody else does, and neither are you going to dictate what I do. I do what I do, and that's how I work things. That's how I do things, okay? And some people are going to like it, and some people aren't. But I'm not here to please everybody. You can't. You just simply can't. But again, I've already apologized. I'll apologize again, but I know it may not do any good. I apologize for missing your team. Maybe I see them, maybe I don't, okay? But I'm definitely not going to go make time for them. It's going to be whenever I have time to do something. That's what you got to understand. Whenever I have time to do something, that's how it works. That's just how it works. Now, I'm going to move on. After that little spat right there, I'm going to move on to Atrisco because I saved these two for last, okay? Because they're different. These guys are different and they make me smile. They make me smile because they got so much passion and fire. They're potentially a technical foul waiting to happen. and that's Atrisco's Marquise Renfro and Latavius Morris. I mean, these guys are the most intense players I've seen, but they get buckets. I mean, Latavius Morris is one that is just blowing up the scene right now. Just blowing it up, okay? I think Prep Hoops has ranked him a number one guard. And there's an argument for that for sure. I haven't done any rankings. I don't even have a ranking in my head right now. I'm still gathering information. This guy, he's got to have about a 40-inch vertical. He's got to have about a 40-inch vertical. And I think he might be shorter than me. And that's super impressive. I mean, he's pinning the ball up against the rim. And I'm 5'5", in case you don't know, 5'5.5". Let's go 5'6" with shoes on, right? Let's just cheat a little bit and go 5'6". That's where I'm at. He might be shorter than me, and he's up there pinning the ball against the rim. He's got to have at least a 35 to 40-inch vertical going on right now as a sophomore, okay? He played last year for Atrisco, and he was really, really solid, really aggressive, and he's that way again. He hasn't found a shot that he hasn't liked yet, from what I can tell. And so it's going to be interesting how they get along over there at Atrisco. And Marquise Renfro is a ball of activity. Great on the fast break. I mean, these guys would be great for Showtime or Paul West's Guru of Go. 40 minutes of hell. These two would be great for it. Maybe Atrisco, you should think about just running the ball all the time. Just running it back and forth. 40 minutes of hell. I'd love to see that, honestly, if you guys did that, because these two can do it all day long. And so they're definitely going to be fun to watch because they just... some people might take it the wrong way. They're just super passionate. That's just how it is. They're just super passionate. Definitely fun to watch. So definitely check them out because they make me smile. Because they're different. They're unique. And I get a kick out of that. And I like that. And so with that being said, I think we've covered everybody I have seen, okay? I want to reiterate what I have seen, okay? I haven't been everywhere, but what I have seen so far as the summer goes, there's still got some tournaments to go, still got some places to see, so still gathering information, and I'll have more and more of a thorough, player profile by the end of the season. I plan to do some interviews with some coaches and some other things like that. So that's going to be fun. So stick with me. We're going to go to the third take. I'm going to talk about what's wrong with Albuquerque. I drove around Albuquerque this weekend, and there's some stuff that definitely needs to be talked about for sure. Okay, so stick around. Okay, all right, so we have finally made it to the third take, okay? This has been the longest podcast, but there was so much to say, and it's been a while. And I know the title says, what's wrong with Albuquerque? Well, let's be honest. What's wrong with Albuquerque? I mean, this weekend, I went around the block, and I went down Route 66, and I started taking video. And I wanted to take a look around and see what's going on in the city, because things are not looking good. I mean, Route 66 was the thoroughfare back in the 50s and 60s. Neon lights, Clyde Tingley Coliseum. All this stuff is going on. There's a lot of homelessness. There's about 5,000 to 8,000 homeless population now in the city. And it's getting bigger and bigger. You're having, we're ranked now top 10 in violent crimes over 100,000 people, cities with over 100,000 people. We're up there with the Memphis and St. Louis and Baltimore and those places. Memphis, if you've ever been down Highway 78, you'll know what I'm talking about, because this place is turning into those type of cities where there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of panhandling, and there's a lot of destruction and businesses being shuttered all over the place. You're seeing windows broken. You're seeing that wooden cardboard or those wooden boards on windows now. How many of you have noticed those wooden boards on windows now? I mean, it's happening all over the city. The west side is getting homeless population now. You're looking at parks with fences all the way around them now, and you can't even go into these parks anymore. You can't have lunch there, can't play soccer, you can't do anything there because I got the fence up now. You've got one park over there on 4th Street that's completely taken over. I call it Kellerville, because it's been nothing but tents, and homeless have taken it over completely. I mean, it's quite a sight to see. It's just amazing. I've never seen it before. You have streets where the homeless are taking shopping carts and lining them all up with their belongings, and they meet every night to go to sleep there. And we have businesses that are now suing the city because they've had to shut their doors because the homeless have gathered around their business and they can't get customers to go in. You go to gas stations, you always have somebody there asking for money. You go to every intersection, you drive down every intersection, there's always somebody there with a sign and a Sharpie. It's amazing. It's just amazing what's going on in the city and how it's beginning to look like these other places. I've been to all the major cities in this country, the rough places. It seems like they always build the warehouses in the hood. You know, the hood, the type of places that the rappers rap about in the hood. You know, these places are exactly what they say they are, full of crime and somebody on the block selling drugs. And here, we're not even prosecuting anybody, it appears. We're not even arresting anybody anymore for criminal trespass or drug possession or any of those other things. It appears that, from a source of mine, that Keller, our mayor, Timothy, as he likes to call himself, or as he likes to put on his little sign when it says, "Welcome to Albuquerque." He should put a shopping cart right there next to the "Welcome to Albuquerque" sign. I'm just being sarcastic, excuse me, with full of clothes and things. And it should say, "Welcome to Albuquerque, Mayor Timothy Keller." And, apparently he's instructed the APD, Albuquerque police, not to arrest for these crimes. And so it's a free-for-all right now. It's a complete free-for-all, and nobody's really doing anything about it. The people that are in office right now don't seem to have a plan, don't seem to have any leadership, don't seem to want to do anything, and they just seem kind of overwhelmed. And it's like, okay, let's just let it happen, that sort of thing. And so as you see these clips, you see what I'm talking about little by little. We're a city that's in the decline. Honestly, we're in the decline. If it weren't for birth rate, we wouldn't really be growing. We only grew 3% in the last 10 years. When you compare us to other cities that have grown 18%, 20%, we're way behind. Our number one employer is the federal government, practically. 1/3 of our employment in this state is the federal government. Everybody works for the feds, okay? And everybody works for UNM or Walmart. And we're really helping the entrepreneurs or the private businesses or the small businesses. We definitely don't like the small businesses. No, we don't like them because the governor shut them all down during the thing. Okay, remember that the 200 restaurants were shut down, and that could have helped as far as the strain on grocery stores when people were standing out line. Remember that. Remember all that. And now we have inflation, and we have gas prices that are insane. I got to tell you the story. I pull up to the gas pump. It's $4 a gallon. I had to buy premium because of the fuel air ratio. And it hit me that I was paying $4 a gallon for the very first time in my life, and I'm 44. Now, I've paid for that in diesel back in California because it's always been expensive over there. But now diesel is $5-6 a gallon, and it's incredible what's happening here. It's literally incredible what's happening here. And it's just something has to be done. Something has to happen. Something has to give, because this can't go I'm speechless, okay? Because we're looking at a crash, a recession. We're looking at something very serious here. We are looking at something very serious, and we're just kind of going right into an abyss here if something doesn't happen, if we don't change things, if we don't wake up. Because none of our politicians, okay, are doing anything really about it. None of them are really doing anything about it, offering any solutions. In fact, they seem to be the ones that are creating this whole mess. We still have a shipping crisis, by the way. It's just that they push the ships further out so you can't see them. You've got about 1 million, 2 million semi-truck loads of freight sitting out there on the West Coast waiting to be unloaded. That's why a lot of you are waiting for your pallet of tile for 6-7 months. I talked to a lot of you people out there, especially in my field, and you've ordered something back in January, and you've ordered something last year, and you're still waiting for it. You're still waiting for it, and you're just like stunned if it shows up. That's kind of what's happening right now. And with these fuel prices going up, the trucking companies it's going to be a major strain on them. I mean, back in the day, diesel was like $3.50 a gallon. To fill up those 100-gallon tanks that they have, they'd pay about $600, $700 a pop. They'd pay about 10 grand a month in fuel. Well, now that it's $5 a gallon, can you imagine what trucking companies are paying right now? It's probably $15,000, $15,000 to $20,000 a month in diesel, just for one truck, one semi-truck. So when you see those semi-trucks going down the road, know that they're paying through the roof. Well, they're going to have to get those costs back somehow, some way, or they're going to end up shutting down. Simple as that. And that's going to be through the goods and products and services. I go through Coronado Mall. I start seeing the stores reconfigure their sections and their shelving because they have less product to sell, because it's not getting to market. They're way behind on their projections. Everything is on the verge of collapse, okay? And from what I understand, this present administration is going to give our emergency power orders over to the WHO, World Health Organization, a direct affront on our sovereignty. This is some scary stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and this could happen on the 22nd of this month. So you better start calling your congressman about this stuff. You better start researching this, because this is shocking, to be honest with you. I mean, there's other things that are kind of shocking too. If you give them that authority, well, then the UN can step in. And from what I understand, there's law in place that our police can dress up in UN uniforms. From what I've understood from contractors who have built police stations around the country, they've built lockers for these UN uniforms. There are UN uniforms in certain police stations. Now, I don't know if APD has them or not. I still got a lot of work to do to try to verify all that, but there's a distinct possibility that that's happening. From what I understand, Houston Police Department was the first to wear a UN uniform, United Nations uniform, during a hurricane that happened about a year or two ago. So that is all going on. This is some scary stuff that is happening to us right now. It's like a near-death experience. Albuquerque is on the verge of starting to lose population, especially if these elections go certain ways. And it looks to me, these candidates don't seem to realize the gravity of this situation here. We've got to do something about it. We've got to definitely start talking to our representatives, talking to this mayor, talking to this governor. If you can talk to her, I don't think she's going to listen to anybody. From what I understand, I think they're going to try to bring back the thing, for a sequel. And they're probably going to try to shove face coverings. And some of you are still wearing those things and all of that, believing that it protects you. Well, I personally think it doesn't. And there's plenty of data to prove that. The point is that this state is in trouble. It is in trouble, and we've got to step up and start taking some action and some initiative and start gathering some knowledge, because what you're seeing on these clips is what's happening right now. And it's only going to get worse because there's no evidence of anything to combat it. That's the point of the whole thing. That's the point of this whole take, is that nothing's being done. And you need to be aware of that. If you live up in the Heights, I ask you to go down around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Central and look at this. Or to go over here on Manal, or go over here on all these other different streets. I'm sure you see it on the interstates, under the underpasses, where tents are going up. And you're seeing all this trash on the road. You're beginning to see all this trash, and it's not being picked up. It's just being thrown out by vagrants and things like that. And so this is a scary time for all of us, and we got to step up and do something about it. And so this is like my public awareness to you, because this is a basketball podcast. This isn't a political show, and I might do one day, but it'll be on like BitChute or Rumble, where you're not censored because you say certain words and things like that. And so I want you to take action. Take action. Talk to each other. Doesn't matter what political party. Talk to each other. And because the bottom line is this, in the grand scheme of things, we all eat, we all sleep, we all drink, and we all work, and we all live in the same city, and we all live in the same state. And so we got to figure this out. And we got to stop, trying to defend this party or that party, because that's just a waste of time right now, because neither one is working for us. That's where I'm coming from as far as things go. And I hope that you're beginning to see that too. So with that being said, I'm going to finish this podcast because it's been long and I'm losing my voice because I film it all in one day. So far, we've had a really good summer. I'm going to be at Section 7, and I'll do another podcast. I think I'm going to try to interview some people and try to get you some interesting interviews. I'm going to start working on that type of stuff and start doing it and going in that direction a little bit. So with that, I thank you for playing, and I thank you for watching. You have a great night.